is crazy. I need to learn to meet women. I need to get out of my shell. I need... Alias. Okay, so I called this guy Alias and I signed up for his program. It costs $1,500, but he guarantees that his students can meet any woman and have sex with her or get your money back. So what have I got to lose?
What's up, David? I'm Alias. Are those your clothes?
Yes?
No. First off, we only concern ourselves with 9s and 10s, got it?
9s and 10s. Got it.
Now just remember, beautiful women have guys coming up to them all day long, telling them how beautiful they are, right?
Right.
So what we do is deny them our approval homes. That way we make them dependent upon us for it.
It seems so complicated.
Jackmaster. Great hair.
Thanks.
Looks silky as shit.
Whatever.
Is it real?
What?
What, you buy it? It's a weed? Horsehair? Dumb, cheap hooker?
Who are you?
Get lost.
Call me.
Doubt it. So.
Here.
See anyone you like?
How about her?
Go.
Just go?
Step up to get your rep up, Doug.
All right. Hey.
Hi.
So I see you're buying jackets.
Yeah, I like jackets.
Well, that may be true, but these ones are too small for you. You've got a few extra pounds.
What?
Yeah, you're kind of a fat, chunky bitch. Too many pounds. I'm just so excited. That gorgeous woman I met in the store is coming over for a date tonight. Oh!
Hello, Wayne.
Hello, shithead.
David, there's something I have to tell you.
Your hair smells like the carpet in the hallway of an apartment building where old Russian people live.
Oh my God! David, please just listen to me.
You look so stupid. Can you even read?
Oh God, take me! I'm gonna go to the bathroom and I'm gonna put in my diaphragm and then I am gonna fuck your brains out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah! Hey, is this your phone? Alias?
Oh, I tried to tell you.
You've been working with Alias the whole time? It's just a scam.
No, it was at first, but then I really started to like you. Oh, come
Get away from me!
Oh, no, David, please don't run away from your own house.
Excuse me, are you okay?
Better than you with that problem skin of yours.
Now, as you know, in the last few months, I haven't really done this many videos in this shorter period of time. This would be like my sixth. Now, I want to say this is going to be my 5th or 6th video in like the last 7-8 days. This is going to be my 5th or 6th video, not including Patreon exclusive videos, in the last 7, no more than 8 days. And if you've been keeping up with me the last few months, you know that's rare for me. Like, you take 2018, my average per month was about 3 videos per month. Yeah, I did about an average of 3 to 5 videos per month in most of 2018. Last year, 2019, I did a little bit more than that, but it's still, anyway. I don't mind because I'm going to be out of town for at least 4 days visiting my girlfriend's peeps. I'm going to actually be meeting my girlfriend's father for the first time. That should be interesting. I've talked to him on the phone at least a handful of times. And, you know, he seems real cool. But here's what's going to be interesting. Assuming that me and my girlfriend have a son or daughter soon, which I can 99% guarantee you we will. Hint, hint, wink, wink. My son and daughter is going to be tripping over the fact that their father is older than their grandmother and grandfather. Because as most people know, I'm 56, about to be 57 on March 3rd. And my girlfriend is 28. She's literally half my age. Yeah, her father, my girlfriend's father, is 8 years younger than me. So what? I'm 56, so he's 48. Yeah, he's 48, and my girlfriend's mother is 47. So I'm 8 years older than my girlfriend's father and 9 years older than my girlfriend's mother. But yeah, I'll be going out of town to check out her side of the family, meet her grandmother and everything. Anyway, I had a guy come in my conversation, actually just like within the last hour or two. And he said, Alan, I think one of the reasons why a lot of guys, and I'm paraphrasing, these are not his exact words, paraphrasing his words, but he said, I believe one of the reasons why a lot of guys, in particular young guys, are gravitating towards some of these other YouTube-based dating gurus, dating advice gurus, is because you don't seem to give enough detailed and in-depth examples of what it means to be Mo 1. You don't give enough detailed and in-depth examples of what it means to be Mo 1. I had 2 or 3 things to say in response to that. Number one, there's been quite a few videos. I uploaded an animated cartoon. Even though I know some people say, well, that's not representative of real human beings. But the conversation was very real. Even though it's an animated cartoon, the conversation you hear going on, that is actually representative of a conversation I really had with a woman. So even though I'll put the link, it's called Clark Uses Mo 1.5 with Danielle. Clark uses Mo 1.5 with Danielle.
So, when would you like to share my company? Next Friday or next Saturday?
Excuse me.
You're excused.
I don't even know you.
You will after we share each other's company next weekend. So, is next Friday better? Or next Saturday?
I don't even know your name.
Clark.
My name is Danielle. So Clark, if I do decide to share your company, what would we do? Would you take me out to a 5-star French restaurant?
No.
Would you take me to the Maxwell concert next weekend?
No.
Would you take me to see the new Denzel Washington movie about the runaway train?
Let me think about it.
Okay, think about it.
Okay, I thought about it.
And?
No.
Excuse me.
You are excused.
I bet your number one objective is to have sex with me.
My social intelligence prevents me from stating the obvious.
So, just to be clear, no 5-star French restaurant, no Maxwell concert, and no Denzel Washington movie.
Correct.
Just hot, kinky, sex.
Correct.
You are so forward. So, direct. I can respect that.
Mode 1.
Yeah, now a lot of people would kind of laugh that video off or brush it off and say, oh man, I don't want to see no cartoon. I want to see, Alan, I want to see you on video. But again, even though it's a cartoon, that conversation was real. Like at least 80 to 90% of the dialogue in that conversation was representative of a real conversation I had with a woman before. So that conversation, nothing about the conversation is cartoonish. The people might be cartoons, but so that's off the top of my head. That's the number one video that I can think of that I've uploaded in recent months that gave guys an example of how to be Mode 1. Again, I keep saying I sound like a broken record, but I'm gonna say it again. Mode 1 is not rocket science. It's really not. See, when you teach an indirect game, you need to be real detailed and whatnot, because what you're basically teaching guys to do is to be believably full of shit. That's basically what you're teaching. With all due respect to all the indirect dating coach, verbal game dating coaches out there, such as AMS, when you're teaching indirect game, all you're doing is teaching guys to be believably full of shit. That's what you're teaching guys. You're teaching guys to be believably full of shit with the objective of diminishing their chances of being harshly or abruptly and straightforwardly rejected. That's the whole reason why you have indirect game, in a nutshell. That's the whole reason why indirect game exists. The main reason why most guys in society tend to gravitate towards the indirect dating coaches rather than such as the alpha male strategies, most conventional pickup artists like Mystery Method and other people, as opposed to a direct dating coach like myself or David X, is because indirect, the one promise that indirect gives you is that you're usually, keyword usually, not going to experience harsh rejection or really quick, straightforward rejection, even though I did a video called You Can Experience Harsh Rejection Even If You're Indirect. If you remember, I did that video, I think last year. I did a video called You Can Experience Harsh Rejection Even If You're Indirect. But that's the number one reason, more than any other reason, why most guys gravitate towards indirect versus direct. And so, yeah, man, if you're an indirect dating coach, see, this is why indirect dating coaches generally make more money than the direct dating coaches do. I remember David X said that back in 2010 when we were in London together. We were talking and he basically said, an indirect dating coach on average, exceptions aside, is always going to make more money than a direct dating coach. For the simple fact, there's really not that much advice to give with direct. Direct is pretty like plain and simple. Whereas indirect, man, I did a video where I said being an indirect dating coach is almost like being an acting teacher. I really would compare it. I would compare being an indirect dating coach to almost being an acting. Because that's what is an actor? An actor is someone who pretends to be someone they're not in a believable manner. That's basically what an actor or an actress is. Like you just had the Oscar Awards on Sunday that, celebrated well-known Hollywood actors and actresses. That's essentially what an actor is. If you're working in the entertainment industry as an actor, actress, what you're basically paid to do is pretend like you're somebody that you're not, but in a believable manner, in a manner that the audience will believe you to be. In a manner that the audience will believe you to be. So, for example, Joaquin Phoenix won the Oscar for Best Actor And the reason why he won that award is because in the movie Joker, he pretended like he was the Joker, which in real life he's not. He pretended like he was a Joker in a manner that was so believable that the audience bought into his performance. They bought into his performance. That's basically what an indirect dating advice coach does. What he's doing is teaching men how to, for lack of a better term, perform in front of women in a manner that will cause that woman to buy into their performance. That's basically what you're doing when you're indirect, man. Two quick examples of doing that would be, for example, when you're indirect guys are guys who will, the number one thing indirect guys do is when they meet women, they pretend like they find a woman's non-sexual attention and companionship much more desirable than they really do. That's the number one thing indirect guys do. When they first meet a woman, they will spend a few minutes, and in some cases hours, and in some cases days and weeks and even months, pretending like they find a woman's non-sexual attention and companionship more desirable and more appealing than they actually do. That's more than anything else. That's the number one thing most guys who are indirect do. They can do it for as briefly as like 10, 15, 20 minutes, or as long as like weeks or months. See, for example, when you're direct and say your interest is just one or more episodes of short-term non-monogamous casual sex, in other words, you're just looking for a casual sex fuck buddy, what you're going to do, like I'll use myself as an example. Over the course of my adult life, starting with the age of 22, anytime I met a woman that I knew I just wanted to spend time with for sexual enjoyment and satisfaction, I told that woman that directly. Matter of fact, speaking on a side note, you know, that was one of the first disagreements that Alpha Male Strategies had with me when he used to comment in my comment section before starting his own, creating his own following. Because again, he used to comment in my comment section between roughly August of 2017 and early to mid-December of 2017. And I remember, I still have it in my email. I have a copy of it in my email. But one of his first disagreements in my comment section was when I made the point that I just made. Alpha Male Strategy said, "No, Alan, I disagree, man. I don't see how you can let a woman know that all you want to do is spend time with her sexually without giving her some impression that you want to also spend time with her non-sexually. I don't see how you could get away with that unless you're just like amazingly good looking and the woman is just already feeling you from the moment she met you. She just already knows she wants to give you some pussy." But he said for the average guy, I don't see how you could get away with that. I don't see how you can get away with communicating to a woman that all you want to do is share her company sexually and totally discard her non-sexual attention companion. He's basically so many words saying, man, if you want casual sex with women, you got to be full of shit. You got to lie to them to a degree and make them at least halfway believe that you're also interested in their non-sexual attention and companionship in addition to their sexual attention and companionship. He was like, I don't see how you could get away with that. But that's what I did get away with. Pretty much every woman that I've ever had casual sex with, I told her straight up that all I wanted to do was fuck them. There has never been, starting with the age of 22 up until now, there has never been a woman that I've engaged in short-term, non-monogamous casual sex with that I gave them the misleading impression that I also wanted to spend a significant amount of time with them non-sexually. I've never done that, ever. Starting with the 22. Now, before the age of 22, I might have did it a handful of times. But starting with the age of 22, really, I would say starting with 21. Starting with fall of 1984, when I was still actually 21. Starting with fall of 1984, that's when I really first started being mode one with women, was around September, October of 1984. That's when I first started being mode one on a pretty consistent basis. And I was 21 years old. Starting with fall 1984 up until now, man, I've never tried to get a woman to have casual sex with me by giving her the misleading impression that I also wanted to spend a significant amount of time with her non-sexually. I tell women straight up that all I want to do is fuck them. And either, basically, when it comes down to it, either they say yay or nay. When it comes down to nitty-gritty, either they say yay or nay. But that's the main difference between a direct dating coach and an indirect dating coach. Again, when you're teaching indirect game, you got to teach men how to be believably full of shit, how to be a believable liar, how to be a convincing manipulator. And that takes a lot of time and effort and detail. And so that's probably why a lot of guys who teach indirect game, their videos require more in depth. I don't teach all that bullshit, man. I'm trying to do just the opposite, actually. I'm trying to do just the opposite. In the same way, indirect guys are essentially teaching men how to be full of shit with the objective of that helping them get women in bed. I want men to be as real, authentic, and straightforwardly honest with women that they possibly can be. I actually say in my book, Who Said Again, I want men to make women feel uncomfortable. Yes, I said it. I want men to make women feel uncomfortable with two things, with their level of confidence and their level of straightforward honesty. I want women to literally feel uncomfortable with a combination of your level of confidence and your level of straightforward honesty. I want women to have a reaction like, damn, I ain't never had no guy be that straightforward about letting me know he want to fuck me. I ain't never had no guy be that straightforward about it, let me know he want to fuck me. That's the type of reaction I want a lot of my male clients to have from women. So all that to say to this particular poster, again, I think his name was Half Amazing TV. I respectfully disagree with your assessment, man. Again, number one, I don't really need to go in as much detail. Here's the first thing I want men to do. And I'm going to give a shout out to my former fellow 21 convention colleague, George Bruno. George Bruno, real cool guy, real cool guy. I think he's based in Philadelphia. And he gave me a nice shout out last year. He did a whole video where he actually said, he did a video where he did a book review of my book, Mo 1. He actually categorized Mo 1 as the best dating advice book for men he's ever read in his life. He actually gave me that testimonial. He said Mo 1 is the best dating advice book for men I have ever read in my life. And one of the specific things he said he loved about my book, Mo 1, George Bruno, he said, Alan, one of the biggest things I love about your book is that at the end of just about every chapter in your book, you ask your male readers, you engage them in a lot of self-examination questions. A lot of self-examination questions. And he said, I love that. Because see, that's part of what true self-help is. That's where the term actually self-help comes from. It's just like if you're a health and fitness trainer, you can't exercise for your clients. You can give them advice, but ultimately, they're the ones that have to eat right and exercise regularly. You can teach them the ins and outs of eating right and exercise and proper and effective exercise, but they're the ones who got to put in the work. That's how I feel about my clients. I can't approach women for them. I can't seduce women for them. Well, actually, technically I can. I've done it before, but that's another story for another day. But, yeah, I ask in my book, Mo 1, and at least one or two of my other 3 books, I ask a lot of self-examination questions. A lot of self-examination questions. And see, if you read my book, if you either got the ebook version, the paperback version, or the audiobook version, you'll see Mo 1 comes last. My last chapter is the chapter about Mo 1. And it's funny because a lot of times when I talk to male clients that I'm, say, doing a Skype consultation with or a telephone consultation with, I can tell the clients that basically skipped through all my early chapters and just went to Mode 1, the chapter on Mode 1. And it's mainly, hate to generalize by age, but it's mainly young guys. It's mainly young guys. And see, a lot of young guys, what they want to do is they want to just try to learn some type of get laid quick seduction technique. That's all they're interested in, is trying to learn some type of get laid quick seduction technique. That's why the PUA phenomenon was so popular in the early 2000s. And to a lesser degree, it still has some degree of popularity, although not as much as between 2005 and 2015. But because a lot of these PUAs were offering get laid quick techniques. Get laid quick techniques. I'm going to say for the upteenth time, Mode 1 is not a get laid quick book. It really isn't. And that's what most people, particularly younger people, again, at the risk of generalizing, don't realize. Mode 1 is not a get laid quick type book. Mode 1, the emphasis of Mode 1 is more so on becoming a more confident verbal communicator and conversationalist. Yeah, a more confident and self-assured verbal communicator and conversationalist, a more provocatively, straightforwardly honest verbal communicator and conversationalist, and most importantly, a more real, genuine, and authentic, verbal communicator and conversationalist. In other words, put in simple terms, I teach men how to be successful with women without being full of shit, without being a liar, without being a disingenuous and misleading manipulator, and just generally without being full of shit. That's what I mainly teach the men, is how to be successful with women without being a bold-faced liar, and without being a disingenuous and misleading manipulator and just a full of shit individual. Totally. Whereas, again, indirect coaches, they teach just the opposite. They teach you to be all those things. They teach you to be a liar. They teach you to be a manipulator. And they just generally teach you how to be full of shit. But yeah, see, the way my book unfolds, this is what I want guys to do. I want guys to read the chapter on Mode 2 and then ask themselves, why do I currently exhibit Mode 2 behavior? Before they even get to trying to learn what Mode 1 is about and what they need to do to be Mode 1, I want them to first ask themselves, why am I currently exhibiting Mode 2 behavior? Why am I currently exhibiting Mode 2? That's probably the most widely used mode of the 4 modes, is Mode 2. Now, that's probably the most widely used mode of the 4 modes, is Mode 2. Typically, when you exhibit Mode 2 behavior, it's because you don't like to be criticized by women. You don't like women insulting you. You don't like women saying anything to you that might cause you public embarrassment. And just generally, you don't like confrontational conversations with women. You want to try to avoid any type of arguments with women or anything that you consider to be confrontational type social interactions with women. And so on a positive end, when you're Mode 2, you're going to be, as I talked about on yesterday's video, you're going to be honest to a degree. You're not going to be a bold-faced liar or just a flat-out manipulator. You're not going to be a bold-faced liar or a flat-out manipulator. But at the same time, you are going to be still a little bit manipulative. Mode 2 behavior is not as manipulative as Mode 3, but you are still, you can say the best way to describe Mode 2 behavior is you're manipulative in a socially acceptable and pleasant manner. That would be the simple way to describe Mode 2 behavior. When you're Mode 2 with women, You are manipulative, but it's in a socially acceptable and generally cordial and pleasant manner. That's what mode 2 is. That's what I call the proverbial nice guy, well-mannered nice guy behavior. But yeah, so most of my chapter on mode 2 ask a bunch of questions at the end of the chapter that come down to, why are you exhibiting mode 2 behavior instead of mode 1? Why are you currently exhibiting mode 2 behavior instead of mode 1? Then I move on to the next chapter, which is about mode 3. And I'm pretty much asked the same question. If you're a guy who's currently exhibiting mode 3 behavior, why? First thing you need, before you start trying to be mode 1, if you're currently either regularly or semi-regularly exhibiting mode 3 behavior, you need to ask yourself, why am I? Why am I? Again, I have 3 subcategories of mode 3. One is what I call mode 3 timid. A mode 3 timid, that means you're the type of guy that's not approaching women at all. You are profoundly afraid to approach women and initiate conversations with them. Mainly because you're very, very, very afraid of being harshly rejected or quickly, abruptly, and straightforwardly rejected. You're profoundly afraid of rejection. So that's one subcategory, is a mode 3 timid. Second subcategory of mode 3 is a mode 3 target. And specifically, you're a target for women who are shallow, superficial, and materialistic. When you're a mode 3 target, that means you have enough confidence and courage to approach women and initiate a conversation with them, but you don't have any degree of confidence and courage when it comes to letting them know your true romantic desires, interests, and intentions, or your true strictly sexual desires, interests, and intentions. Instead, you engage in a whole bunch of lengthy bullshit small talk. And a lot of your small talks, oh, I just burped. Excuse me, I apologize. A lot of your, at least half of your conversation centers around your achievements, your accomplishments, your level of career success, your level of financial success, what type of house you own, what type of car you own. When you're a mode 3 target, your main objective is to try to impress women. You want to attract women by way of trying to impress them. By way of trying to impress them with stuff related to money and or materialistic items, or your level of fame, if you happen to be famous. Then the third subcategory, mode 3, is simply a mode 3 liar, cheater, adulterer, and fun clubber. Liar, cheater, adulterer, and fun clubber. 3 of those 4 are self-explanatory. If you're lying to women, you're lying to women. You give women the impression you want long-term sex when you really want short-term sex. You lie to a woman and tell her you want strictly monogamous sex when you really want non-monogamous sex. You lie to a woman and tell her you want a romantic relationship when you really just want casual sex. You lie to a woman and give an impression you want to be her platonic friend, but really you want to get in her pants. Liar, cheater, adulterer, fun clubber. Yeah, fun clubber is when you indefinitely pretend like you're content with being a woman's purely platonic male friend, when in actuality you want to be in a romantic relationship with her or you want to have casual sex with her. And then finally, mode 4. I was just having a conversation earlier today with a client of mine, Skype consultation, and probably at least 1/3 of our conversation centered around mode 4. So here's the thing with mode 4. Nobody starts off being mode 4. Nobody, and I mean no heterosexual man alive, is going to start off being mode 4. Like nobody comes out the womb, their mother's womb, being mode 4. Typically, like one thing I've always told clients is, you'll never transition from mode 1 to mode 4. You'll never do that. Even though I've had at least 2 people, just off the top of my head, try to suggest that they did They did, but I said that can't happen. It is virtually impossible to transition from mode 1 to mode 4. You can transition, many guys transition from mode 2 to mode 4. I've done that quite a few times in my life when I was younger, where I would transition from mode 2 to mode 4, which is one of the detriments of being indirect. And I've even more so transitioned from mode 3 to mode 4. So there's a lot of guys in society who will go back and forth. They will vacillate between being mode 2 and mode 4 and or vacillate between being mode 3 and mode 4. You know what that's known in psychiatric terms is simply, that means you're exhibiting what's known as passive-aggressive behavior. Passive-aggressive behavior. A lot of guys do that. They go from mode 2 to mode 4, back to mode 2, back to mode 4, back to mode 2, back to mode 4. And similarly, they go from mode 3 to mode 4, back to mode 3, back to mode 4. That's called passive-aggressive behavior. But you're not going to find somebody who goes in between. Like I had one guy write me one time. He said he was in a club. He said, Alan, first he asked me, he said, Alan, have you ever transitioned from mode 1 to mode 4? And I wrote him back. I said, no. Never ever. And he said, well, that happened to me for the first time. I was mode 1 with a woman, and she was with her girlfriend, and then she rejected me. And he said the rejection itself didn't necessarily bother me, but as I was walking away from her and her girlfriend, I could hear them talking amongst themselves, and they started looking at me and laughing. And when I saw them laughing at me, it made me go to mode 4. And so he was asking me, Alan, have you ever experienced that? And I said, no. I said, it's virtually impossible to go from mode 1 to mode 4. And then he asked me to explain what happened with him. And I said, what you were doing was you, in your mind, you were referencing something that happened to you in the past, where you got humiliated by a woman in your past, where some high school classmate of yours used to tease you and treat you like you were a loser. And you were referencing that when you heard these women laughing. So it wasn't the mode 1 behavior that led to you being mode 4. It was you in your mind replaying memories of women from your past doing something that left you feeling angry, bitter, resentful, humiliated, embarrassed, mocked, disrespected. Because here's, I'm going to break down mode 4. And again, this is what me and my client were talking about. When you really analyze mode 4 behavior, you want to know what I like to say mode 4 behavior is? Here's my kind of, unique take on both mode 4 and anger in general. Both mode 4 and anger in general. Mode 4, for the most part, maybe not in 100% of cases, but in most cases, mode 4 behavior or anger is representative of delayed authenticity. Delayed authenticity. That's basically what mode 4 is, in a nutshell. When you're exhibiting mode 4, which is almost the same thing as experiencing anger and resentment and bitterness, you want to know what causes that? Is because, like, I give you the best example from one of my books. Well, I give 2 examples from 2 different books. One that involves me and one that involves another guy. If you read the chapter in mode 4, the chapter on mode 4, read the story about the guy who came in my original mode 1 book, who came to use his female friend's bathtub or shower. This guy came to use this woman I know. There was a woman who used to be a phone sex buddy of mine. Well, actually, no, we did have physical sex. So we were both fuck buddies and phone sex partners. But she lived in another city, so we didn't have physical sex too much. But we had physical sex a few times too. But anyway, I'm trying not to get too lengthy, but what happened was she had this guy that was living in her apartment building. And basically, he wanted to fuck her. I think he actually wanted to date her, like in a serious relationship. But at minimum, he wanted to fuck her. But what did he do? What's the mistake he made? He engaged in fun clubbing, which is mode 3. He fun clubbed with her. Instead of telling her from the get-go when he met her that he was attracted to her and wanted to get with her, either for a long-term romantic relationship or a few episodes of casual sex, he spent weeks and months pretending like he was cool and content with being her purely platonic male friend. And then what happened is this other guy moved into her apartment building who motherfuck buddy found very handsome and sexually appealing. And she like fucked him like less than a week after he moved into the apartment building. She fucked him like less than a week. Matter of fact, I want to say she made the first move. So for the guy, it was a mode 0 experience. He didn't like seduce her. She like basically threw the pussy at him. Yeah, so the guy who was fun clubbing with her found out that she was fucking this other dude that lived in that same apartment building. And one night he asked her, could he use his shower? Because he said his shower is broke. Anyway, without getting a longer story, he transitioned into mode 4 and just like start cursing at her. She had to call the police on the dude. She literally had to call the police on the dude. Now let's examine that story real quick. And if you got my original mode 1, I don't think I have that in my 2017 updated version of mode 1, but that's definitely my 1999 version of mode 1 and my 2006 version of mode 1. It's in the chapter on mode 4. Why you think that guy transitioned to mode 4? Because he was being full of shit. He was being full of shit. And him being full of shit caught up with him. See, this is the analogy I've always used. You ever been in a swimming pool and you see people have these real big air balloons? These real big air balls, big round air balls or air balloons, I think they call them. Here's my analogy for a person that's being full of shit. Imagine you in a swimming pool and you trying to hold down a big round ball full of air indefinitely. For the first few seconds, it's going to be easy to hold that ball down. Maybe for the first few minutes. Maybe for a few hours. But at some point, man, your arm going to get tired. You're going to want to release that ball. You're going to want to release that ball. I'm going to use that as my hashtag. Release that ball. That's a creative hashtag. Release that ball. Seriously though, that's my analogy for being full of shit. See, when you're being full of shit, you're trying, think of your real, true, genuine behavior as that round ball full of air. That round ball of air is representative of your real, authentic behavior. When you're being full of shit, you're trying to suppress that round ball. You're trying to hold it underneath water. But at some point, it's going to rise to the surface. Always does. And guess how it usually manifests itself, expresses itself? Is in the form of anger. And that's what I was telling my client, and he actually agreed with me. That's basically what mode 4 is, man. Or the example I use that involves me in my book, Who Said Again, is verbal seduction story number 1. If you remember verbal seduction story, that's my most infamous verbal seduction story, the triple date story. I was on a triple date and I was with this woman. And what was I doing for about the first 75 minutes of that triple date? I was being full of shit. See, a lot of people read that story or listen to the story in the audiobook and they'll attack the woman and say, God, why was that woman giving you such a hard time? Why was she being such a bitch? Now, the reality is, objectively speaking, is that half of the blame is on me. I was being full of shit with that woman. I wanted to fuck her, but I was trying to pretend like I didn't. I wanted to fuck her, but I was trying to be mode 2. Basically, I was trying to fuck her using indirect mode 2 type behavior. And she wasn't going for it. So for at least 30 to 60 seconds, I transitioned then into mode 4. And then later I transitioned into mode 1. And the reason why I temporarily transitioned into mode 4, because I was expressing delayed authenticity. Again, that's what mode 4 behavior is. Mode 4 happens because of delayed authenticity. In other words, what seems like you're angry at someone else is actually you angry at yourself for not being your real self. When you're exhibiting mode 4, you're actually angry at yourself for not being your real self. A lot of men do that with women, man. And not to say that women don't do it. Women do it too. Women have done that with men. Let's say you're dealing with a woman. Let's say maybe you're in a relationship with a woman and you love watching ESPN Monday Night Football. I've used this analogy before. Let's say you love watching ESPN Monday Night Football and your girlfriend says, Henry, can you spend more time with me and stop watching football so much? Now, in your mind, you might say, fuck that. I love ESPN Monday Night Football. I'm watching ESPN Monday Night Football. But because you want to appease her and you don't want to get in an argument with her or make her feel bad, you say, okay, honey, yeah, I'll come in the bedroom with you instead of watching. And let's say that goes on for, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks. And then y'all get into an argument about something. And y'all exchanging criticisms and exchanging insults. What do you think is going to inevitably come up on your end when you're arguing with your girlfriend? At some point in that argument, you're going to say, and furthermore, bitch, I don't want to spend time with you on no Monday nights. That's football night. And you've taken away from me watching that damn ESPN Monday Night Football because you want me to spend time with you, you fucking bitch. What is that? What is that in reality? That's delayed honesty. That's delayed honesty. It's what I call in my book, after the fact, straightforward honesty. It's not upfront, straightforward honesty. It's after the fact, straightforward honesty. You're only honest now because you're pissed and you don't give a fuck. You're only straightforwardly honest with her now because you're pissed and you don't give a fuck. See, when you're angry, you don't give a fuck about what your girlfriend, wife, fiance, or whoever else thinks. Once the emotion of anger takes over, you really don't give a fuck about what the person you're talking to thinks about you. You could kind of think of mode 1 as mode 4 without the anger. See, when you're mode 1, you shouldn't give a fuck about what people think, but without the anger involved. But most people, when they get angry, they become much more straightforwardly honest because they're so angry that they don't give a fuck what people think. That's what it is. Mode 4 behavior is simply delayed, straightforward honesty and delayed authenticity. Delayed authenticity. Again, going back to my triple date story, that's how I was with that woman on that triple date. When I called her a bitch. Anytime you got to call a woman outside her name, you're being mode 4. Just to let you know. Anytime you got to call a woman out her name, you're being mode 4. Unless you're in a BDSM relationship, and that's another story. But, yeah, so when I called that woman in that triple date story, when I started getting angry at it, it's because I knew early on that night that I wanted to fuck her, but I didn't have the balls to straightforwardly tell her that. I had the balls to straightforwardly tell her that. So then, at the end of my chapter on mode 4, you got to ask yourself, I got a series of questions. Why weren't you genuine and authentic with women from the time you met them? Why did you engage in a conversation about that woman's favorite movies or favorite foods, favorite TV shows, when deep down you really didn't give a fuck about her favorite movies, favorite foods, and favorite TV shows? Why? Why did you engage in that bullshit conversation? Probably half the reason because you listened to some indirect dating coach tell you to do that shit. Trust me, I can call out a name of a guy in Las Vegas from Australia who gave that. He said, always mirror a woman. If she tells you she's in the bowling, you act like you're in the bowling. If she tells you she's in the tennis, you act like you're in the tennis. See, that's being full of shit. That's straight up, that's being full of shit. I'm not as much trying to help you get laid as much as I'm trying to help you not be full of shit.